God's chosen ones, let me start by asking you a question that might stir your spirit. Have you felt an unexplainable shift in your life lately, like a stirring in the depths of your soul hinting that a long-awaited breakthrough is at hand? If so, let me assure you, it's no coincidence you stumbled upon this very message. There is a reason you're here. The word on my heart today is that if you are truly among those chosen by God, money is about to pour into your life in ways that will defy your expectations. Yes, you heard me correctly. Your financial season is about to transform, and it will be more than just a temporary windfall. We're talking about a sustainable, divinely orchestrated flow of abundance that will empower you to live, give, and serve on a level you've only dreamed of. Now, before we dive deeper, I invite you to do something simple yet powerful. Like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment the number 777 below. By typing 777, you are declaring alignment with this prophetic word, signaling both to the universe and to your own subconscious that you are ready to step into a season of greater provision. Trust me, when you act in faith, unseen doors begin to swing wide open. Let's talk about the restlessness you might be feeling in this very moment. Perhaps you've been struggling financially for longer than you'd like to admit. You've budgeted, prayed, planned, taken on extra work, and still the ends barely meet. Maybe you've faced financial setbacks or family responsibilities that made you wonder if you'd ever break free from the weight of scarcity. But deep within, there's a flicker of hope you can't extinguish. That hope whispers to you even when life's pressures scream the opposite. It says, there is more for you, and it's right. You were never meant to carry the weight of lack. You are destined for a life that radiates God's abundance, not just financially, but in every area of your existence. That persistent, fiery hope is the voice of God within, reminding you of your birthright. And guess what? You are on the precipice of witnessing that promise made manifest. I know some of you might be asking, but why does God care about my finances? Isn't that selfish or worldly? Let me dispel that doubt right now. The notion that money is somehow dirty or unspiritual is a limiting belief that has kept countless good-hearted people in a perpetual cycle of want. Money itself is neither evil nor holy. It is a tool, a resource, an amplifier that magnifies what's already in your heart. If your heart is aligned with love, generosity, and purpose, having more money will enable you to express those qualities on a larger scale. You become not just a receiver of blessings, but a channel through which blessings flow. Think about that dream you hold, to feed the hungry, to fund a local mission, to create opportunities for the underprivileged. Isn't it true that greater resources would only help you fulfill that mission more effectively? God's abundance isn't about fueling greed. It's about equipping you to be a solution in a world desperate for hope. Maybe you're nodding your head right now, feeling that tingle in your spirit, as if something inside you is saying, "Yes, that's me. I want to be used as a blessing." That is precisely why the windows of heaven are about to open over your life. This isn't random or accidental. It's an appointment in time that was set before you were even born. All those nights you prayed for a breakthrough, all those moments you cried out in frustration were not in vain. God has seen every tear, heard every whispered prayer, and recognized your willingness to be faithful even when times were tough. Those seeds of faith and perseverance are about to yield a harvest that will astonish you. The financial floodgates are swinging wide, and the blessings waiting on the other side are more lavish than you can currently imagine. Let me pause here to remind you once more to like this video, subscribe, and drop a 777 in the comments if you haven't already. This is not just a repetition. It's an invitation for you to step deeper into alignment with the stirring you feel in your heart. The act of commenting is a small but potent demonstration of your readiness to receive. As you type those 3 digits, 777, envision yourself literally unlocking spiritual storerooms brimming with provision, waiting for you to claim them by faith. If any voice in your head ridicules this gesture as mere superstition, recognize that voice as the cynicism that tries to keep you locked in the old ways. Let your spirit respond with boldness. I believe in miracles, I believe in new chapters, and I believe in divine destiny. Now let's get practical. There is a real-world aspect to your financial shift that you must be prepared for. When God decides to pour out blessings, opportunities often present themselves in seemingly ordinary ways, through job offers, business ideas, random connections, or even sudden sparks of inspiration. You might wake up with a clear vision of a new venture, or perhaps you'll meet someone who opens a door you never knew existed. The point is, be watchful. Faith isn't passive, it's active participation with God's grace. So keep your eyes open, your ears tuned to that still, small voice, and your heart ready to seize each opportunity that aligns with your values and your bigger purpose. One powerful concept to grasp here is the shift in your mindset. For a long time, you might have operated from a place of lack, always worried about monthly bills, anxious that you'll never have enough, or feeling guilty about spending on anything beyond the bare necessities. That mindset is like a spiritual lock on your resources. If you believe deep down that you'll never rise above your present struggles, you inadvertently repel the very blessings you seek. The remedy is to align your thoughts, words, and actions with the abundance promised to you. That doesn't mean you splurge recklessly. Rather, you begin to carry yourself with quiet confidence, trusting that you are indeed worthy of receiving more than just scraps. You start speaking words of abundance over your life. Money flows to me effortlessly in perfect alignment with God's plan, or I am blessed to be a blessing. Over time, this daily practice reshapes your spiritual frequency. Think of it like tuning into a higher channel. Once you hit the right frequency, the broadcast of blessings you've been seeking comes in loud and clear. Here's a real-life example. A man named James found himself stuck in a dead-end job with minimal pay. Each day he felt drained and hopeless, convinced that no better opportunity would ever come. Then he stumbled across a message much like this one, which encouraged him to believe that God wanted to bring financial increase into his life. Skeptical but desperate, he began to shift his language. Instead of complaining about his job, he thanked God for the income he did have, while prayerfully anticipating something greater. Within a few weeks, a former acquaintance reached out unexpectedly with a proposition for a better-paying job in a field that matched James's interests. James hesitated at first, nearly talking himself out of it because of self-doubt, but he remembered the promise he had received and mustered the courage to apply. He got the job, doubling his income overnight. That was just the beginning. With his new confidence, he later pursued a business idea he'd always had in the back of his mind. which soon provided an additional stream of revenue. Today, James testifies that his financial struggles seem like a distant memory, all because he dared to align himself with divine abundance. God showed up not with flashy miracles, but through doors of opportunity and an inward transformation of mindset. Another tangible way to prepare for this outpouring is to become an excellent steward of whatever you currently have. Stewardship is about managing resources, be it money, time, or talents, in a way that honors God's principles of responsibility and generosity. Whether you have a small paycheck or a modest savings, treat it with respect. Tithe or give to charitable causes if that resonates with your faith. Pay off debts systematically and budget in a way that allows a margin for saving and giving. Think of it like training wheels for the greater blessings to come. If you can handle a small portion with wisdom and gratitude, you demonstrate readiness for more. Often the universe tests our faithfulness in the little before entrusting us with the great. As you receive this word, you may start noticing something remarkable. Other areas of your life will also begin to shift. Why? Because money is rarely an isolated blessing. True prosperity flows hand in hand with emotional healing, spiritual growth, and relational restoration. Perhaps as financial pressure eases, you'll find the energy to rekindle a neglected passion or mend a broken relationship. Or you might discover you have fresh mental bandwidth to tackle health issues or creative projects. You see, God doesn't just pour out money, He pours out wholeness. This means that your new season of abundance can ripple out, enhancing your entire life and empowering you to uplift others around you. But let's not sugarcoat the journey. With new blessings come new challenges. You may face jealousy from those who prefer you stuck in your old story. Some might question your intentions or accuse you of focusing too much on material gain. In those moments, stand firm in your truth. Remember, it's not about the money, it's about the mission God has placed in your heart. The finances are merely a tool to help you fulfill it. Also, watch out for the temptation to hoard or become prideful. The way to keep the flow going is to maintain an open hand, receive from God, and pass it on where He leads. Generosity is not a postscript, it's the lifeblood of sustained abundance. The more you give from a sincere place, the more you invite blessings back into your life, creating a sacred cycle of overflow. Speaking of generosity, consider the joy and freedom that comes from helping others without second-guessing the cost. Envision surprising a single mother with groceries, contributing to a scholarship fund, or supporting a cause that feeds hungry children. Picture the tears of gratitude, the hope restored in someone's eyes. That is your potential future. That is the kind of transformation God's abundance can facilitate. It's not about flaunting wealth, but about using it as an extension of God's love and compassion. When you keep this perspective, money remains a servant, not a master. It's a resource that elevates the dignity and well-being of you and those you bless, rather than controlling your sense of self-worth. Now, I want to circle back to something crucial: the role of faith. Faith isn't wishful thinking. It's the solid conviction that God's promise is stronger than your present reality. To anchor this faith, engage in daily practices that remind you of who you are and what you're stepping into. Pray not just for money, but for wisdom and discernment to use it well. Read or watch testimonies of people who broke free from financial bondage through spiritual principles, letting their stories kindle your own hope. If you find yourself slipping into doubt, verbally affirm that God is your provider and that He delights in guiding you to new opportunities. Some people like to create vision boards or write down specific financial goals, combining intention with faith. If that resonates with you, go for it. The key is consistency. Keep feeding your mind and spirit with the truths that fuel your journey rather than the fears that anchor you in lack. Another practical tactic is to develop multiple streams of income. This can look like freelancing, investing, turning a hobby into a side hustle, or learning new skills that boost your market value. God can and does perform sudden miracles, but often He multiplies what you bring to the table. Think of the biblical story of the loaves and fishes. Jesus multiplied the food that was offered. In the same way, if you offer your skill, time, or creativity, God can multiply the impact and the return. Keep an open mind, be flexible, and don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. Remember, your comfort zone rarely intersects with your miracle zone. Let me share another testimonial. A woman named Marie was living paycheck to paycheck, every day consumed by anxiety over bills. She came across a message about divine abundance, and it ignited a spark. She started devoting 15 minutes each morning to declaring God's promises over her life, saying out loud that she was worthy and capable of handling financial breakthroughs. She also asked for guidance on new avenues. Not long after, she felt an unexplainable urge to start writing short e-books about her personal experiences with homemaking and frugal cooking tips. She self-published them online and promoted them in social media groups she belonged to. Sales trickled in at first, but soon escalated enough to significantly ease her financial burdens. Encouraged, she expanded into creating video tutorials. Today, she's earning several times what she used to and has the freedom to spend more time with her children. She attributes it all to listening to that inner nudge, pairing it with consistent faith declarations and acting on the opportunities God placed before her. As you let these stories resonate in your heart, I want to reassure you that this isn't about living a fantasy or engaging in get-rich-quick hype. This is about tapping into a divine principle that God desires to prosper you so you can prosper others. It's about rewriting the narrative you've carried, where money was always short, stress was a constant companion, and dreams had to be shelved. You're called to a higher narrative, one where finances cease to be a torment and become a testimony. When the money pours in, you become a living demonstration that with God, all things are possible, even turning around a bleak financial situation. Perhaps you feel a tinge of guilt or fear about stepping into abundance, worrying that you might lose humility or be judged by your community. Understand this: humility and wealth are not mutually exclusive. What matters is your heart posture. If your desire for money stems from a craving for prestige, you might be veering off course. But if it arises from a vision to uplift, create and heal, then your pursuit of abundance is an act of service. When critics question you, simply let your fruits speak for themselves. When they see how you invest in others, how you steward your blessings with integrity, the critics will have little ground to stand on. Now, let's address one more important point: timing. Sometimes God's clock runs differently from ours. You might be on the verge of losing hope because you've been waiting for your financial miracle for so long. But consider that waiting periods are often growth seasons. Just like seeds stay dormant underground before they sprout, You might be in a process of internal development, learning invaluable lessons about endurance, wisdom, and empathy that will shape how you handle your forthcoming abundance. Don't despise the waiting. Prepare in the waiting. Grow in the waiting. One day you'll look back and see how each delay was orchestrated to refine your character, preparing you for sustained blessing rather than short-lived prosperity. In these final moments, let your heart soak in the assurance that you're not hearing these words by chance. There's a reason you've made it to the end of this message. Your spirit recognizes that something monumental is shifting, so if you haven't already, go ahead and like this video, subscribe, and declare your faith by commenting 777. Do it boldly, do it joyfully, and do it with expectation. Let it be a spiritual marker, a moment when you said, "Yes, I believe in God's plan to bless me financially so I can be a blessing." Feel the energy of that declaration move through you, dispelling fear and igniting fresh hope. Remember, God's outpouring doesn't just drop out of the sky like random rain. It's a convergence of your readiness, your aligned mindset, and God's divine orchestration. You've been chosen to break barriers, defy odds, and walk in a level of abundance that echoes heaven's generosity. This is your season to emerge from the shadows of lack and step onto a pathway where provision flows more naturally than ever before. You are destined to carry a financial anointing that brings not just personal relief, but a ripple effect of hope to everyone around you. So stand up, chosen one, lift your head high, and prepare to receive. The money is about to pour in, and with it, the opportunity to live the life God has ordained, shining as a testament to His unending love and faithfulness. Amen and amen. But let's not conclude this message just yet. Often the human heart needs reinforcement, needs to hear these truths repeated in different words, to really allow them to sink in. You see, old patterns of scarcity may be so deeply rooted in your psyche that a single dose of encouragement isn't enough to fully uproot them. The more you soak in these promises of abundance, the more your mind transforms, and the more your spirit aligns with that higher reality, where finances are not a perpetual worry, but a channel for purposeful living. Let me share another perspective. Sometimes, the path to financial overflow involves releasing certain fears or beliefs you might not even be aware you're holding. You might fear that increased wealth will change who you are, or that friends and family will resent you. Or maybe you subconsciously believe that living paycheck to paycheck is somehow nobler or safer because it keeps you from having to manage larger responsibilities. Recognize these fears for what they are: protective strategies developed over time to shield you from disappointment or perceived danger. Yet these same strategies can become walls that block God's blessing. How do you tear down these walls? Through honest self-examination, prayer, and often through counsel from those who've already walked this journey of transformation. Be open to the idea that the very mindset you've clung to for security might be the chain that needs to be broken. You may also wonder how this message aligns with biblical principles. Throughout Scripture, we see countless examples of God providing supernaturally for His people, from manna in the wilderness to multiplying oil in a widow's jar. But we also see principles of diligence, integrity, and stewardship. Joseph's story in Egypt is a prime illustration. He interpreted Pharaoh's dream about an impending famine and acted with prudence, saving grain during the years of plenty so that when famine struck, Egypt had more than enough. This dual emphasis, God's miraculous provision and our practical management, forms the foundation for sustained abundance. Yes, miracles can happen in an instant, but sustaining that miracle often calls for human cooperation, wise decision-making, and continual reliance on divine guidance. Let's delve into the realm of generosity once more. One of the fastest ways to keep the channels of abundance open is by practicing active generosity. When you give, whether it's money, time, or resources, you are essentially mirroring God's own nature. He is the ultimate giver, continuously pouring out blessings on humanity. When you follow suit, you position yourself under a waterfall of grace. This doesn't mean you give foolishly or let people take advantage of your kindness. Discernment is crucial. But when you give from a joyful, faith-filled heart, you establish a cycle where what flows out inevitably flows back in even greater measure. It's the spiritual law of sowing and reaping in action. To illustrate, let's talk about David, a small business owner who found himself on the brink of bankruptcy. He was months behind on rent and couldn't see a way forward. One day, he felt a deep prompting to donate a modest sum to help a struggling friend, an act that, to his logical mind, seemed reckless given his own dire state. Yet, the impression wouldn't let him go. So he gave, trusting that this prompting was from God. Within weeks, a larger contract than he'd ever secured before landed in his lap, more than covering his debts and setting him on the path to recovery. David attributes this turnaround not just to blind luck, but to a spiritual principle. The moment he aligned with a giving heart, it unlocked new opportunities. This isn't about transactional faith, as though you can manipulate God by giving. It's about alignment, your willingness to act as a conduit of love rather than as a fearful hoarder of resources. Now let's consider the environment you immerse yourself in. If you constantly surround yourself with people who complain about finances, mock the idea of divine provision, or feed your fears about money, those negative vibrations can dampen your faith. Be mindful of the conversations you engage in and the energy you absorb. Sometimes you may need to step back from certain relationships or at least limit the time spent in negativity. Seek communities, online or offline, where testimonies of breakthrough and stories of generosity abound. The more you see examples of others stepping into abundance by applying spiritual truths, the easier it becomes for you to believe the same can happen in your life. Of course, discipline remains a cornerstone. Even as you anticipate money pouring in, you might need to refine your spending habits, curb impulsive buys, and direct your funds wisely. Think ahead. If you were to receive a significant sum of money tomorrow, do you have a plan for how to steward it? Sometimes, unpreparedness can cause what could have been a sustained blessing to vanish quickly. If you know you struggle with impulsive financial decisions, begin praying now for self-control and guidance. Or take practical steps such as consulting a financial planner or setting up systems to automate savings. This blend of spiritual expectancy and practical readiness is powerful. You'll be like a farmer who not only prays for rain, but also prepares the soil and plants the seeds in anticipation. Let's shift gears a bit and talk about the emotional freedom that financial abundance can bring. Perhaps you've known the sleepless nights, the gnawing anxiety every time a bill arrives. Maybe you felt the shame when you couldn't afford something essential for your family. Freedom from those emotional burdens can bring renewed joy, creativity, and confidence. It's not about living lavishly, it's about being released from the constant dread that corners your mind. And once you're free, you can dream bigger dreams. Maybe starting a non-profit, traveling to broaden your horizons, or taking up a passion project that once felt out of reach. This expansion of possibilities is at the heart of God's plan for you. He wants you to live fully, not half alive, constrained by financial shackles. But remember this crucial point. Abundance is not the end goal, it's a means to an end. The ultimate goal is to walk out your divine calling, to love God, love people, and fulfill the unique mission assigned to your life. Wealth is just one of the tools in your toolbox. It's an amplifier of who you are at the core. If you're a compassionate soul, more resources will magnify that compassion. If you're creative, more financial breathing room can unleash innovative ideas that might benefit humanity. Let that perspective guide your pursuit. The money itself is neutral. Your heart's posture determines whether it becomes a blessing or a curse. Now, some of you might be asking, how will I know the timing? I've been praying for years. Why should I believe the breakthrough is near now? We don't always know the exact hour, but we sense a divine shift. If your spirit feels ignited while hearing these words, if tears well up or your chest tightens with hope, that's a strong indicator. God often communicates through the language of our hearts, through impressions, bursts of excitement, or even gentle restlessness prompting you to get ready. So pay attention to those cues, and while you wait, keep doing the last thing God told you to do. Whether it's refining your skill set, clearing debts, or deepening your prayer life, continue faithfully. Miracles often happen when we combine perseverance with expectancy. I urge you, if you haven't already, to step forward in faith right now by liking this video, subscribing, and commenting 777. See it as a small but mighty act of agreement with what has been stirring in your soul. Each time you revisit your comment or see someone else's, let it rekindle that sense of anticipation. Let your mind replay the promises you've heard. Let your heart remain wide open to the creative ways God might choose to pour blessings into your life. Another question that might arise is, what if I fail once I have the money? What if I mismanage it or lose it all? Failure is not final. It's a teacher. Even if you make mistakes, God's grace is sufficient to guide you back on track. Many well-known success stories involve individuals who lost it all at one point, only to rebuild bigger and better because they learned valuable lessons from their trials. Don't let fear of failure paralyze you. Instead, arm yourself with education. Learn about budgeting, investments, responsible lending, and more. And never forget to keep your relationship with the divine at the forefront. Regularly invite God into your financial decisions. Ask, is this the wisest use of the resources you've entrusted to me? That prayerful posture can avert many potential pitfalls. Let's explore the ripple effect your abundance can have beyond immediate family and friends. Imagine funding a school in an underdeveloped region, providing scholarships for young minds bursting with potential but short on resources, or contributing to medical research that might save countless lives. The possibilities are vast. Each time you distribute wealth thoughtfully, you become an active participant in co-creating a more equitable world. And in that process, you'll discover an even greater sense of fulfillment than any material possession could give. That's the paradox of abundance. When you use it to invest in the well-being and upliftment of others, your own life becomes immeasurably richer. For those of you on a spiritual journey where prayer and meditation are daily practices, consider dedicating specific time to focus on financial release. Visualize yourself stepping out of debt, shaking off the chains of financial struggle, and walking into a realm of sufficiency. See yourself writing checks to charities, paying for someone's groceries anonymously, or making that crucial investment in your future. Let the emotional resonance of that vision fill you with excitement and gratitude as though it's already happening. This is a powerful faith exercise that helps rewire your brain, attuning you to the frequency of abundance. One might argue that this talk of money overshadowing spiritual growth is misguided. But let's clarify that money is just one area where God's power can manifest. He cares about your relationships, your mental and emotional health, and your spiritual maturity. They're all interconnected. Addressing financial constraints can relieve stress on your mind, free up time for deeper family connections, and empower you to serve more wholeheartedly. Thus, focusing on financial breakthroughs is actually part of a holistic approach to spiritual and personal development. The end goal isn't to worship money, but to integrate it into a life of divine purpose. Have you considered the example you set for future generations? Children, whether your own or those in your sphere of influence, observe how you handle life's challenges. If they see you transition from barely making ends meet to becoming a wise and generous provider, that transformation imprints on their young hearts. They learn that faith and perseverance aren't just empty words, but real tools for shaping destiny. You break generational curses of poverty thinking and usher in a new legacy of resourcefulness, faith, and benevolence. That alone is worth any temporary discomfort you experience as you stretch your beliefs. Another crucial step is to remain teachable. Even after money starts pouring in, never stop learning. The financial landscape evolves, and new opportunities will emerge. Stay curious and open-minded. Seek out mentors, spiritual and financial, who can guide you. Pride has been the downfall of many who received blessings. They believed they could navigate everything alone. Maintain humility, remembering that every good thing ultimately flows from the divine source. As you remain humble, you keep the channel open for continued revelation and provision. Let's talk about the joy factor. As you enter this new season of provision, allow yourself to celebrate, to feel deeply grateful. Joy is infectious, magnetizing even more blessings. It also signals to your subconscious and to the universe that you're comfortable with abundance. You're not rejecting it, you're embracing it. Many people sabotage their financial gains by sinking back into guilt or shame once they have more than they need. Recognize that pattern if it tries to arise in you. Instead, welcome the blessings with a grateful heart and let your joy overflow into acts of kindness. There's a phrase that says, when God blesses you financially, don't raise your standard of living, raise your standard of giving. While this doesn't mean you can't improve your lifestyle, for it's perfectly fine to enjoy the fruits of your labor, it does emphasize the call to keep giving at the forefront. Let your expanded resources reflect an expanded heart. This balanced approach ensures that the blessing doesn't turn into a spiritual stumbling block. Rather than drifting into vanity, you remain anchored in the mission that brought you to this point in the first place. Allow me to share one final story. Anne was a single mother living in a cramped apartment, scraping by on a series of odd jobs. But she possessed an unwavering conviction that God was stirring a financial breakthrough on her horizon. Day after day, she wrote in her journal declarations of abundance, expressing gratitude for blessings that hadn't yet materialized. On top of that, she volunteered at a local shelter whenever she could, believing that even if she didn't have much, she could still be a blessing. Several months later, she was unexpectedly contacted by a distant relative who had left her a modest inheritance. With those funds, she attended a vocational program, quickly landing a job that nearly tripled her previous income. Today, Anne mentors other single parents, teaching them both practical skills and the power of faith. She often laughs when she remembers how impossible it all seemed, until it happened. Now, dear friend, it's your turn. Regardless of how dire your financial scenario appears, you are on the cusp of a turnaround. The universe can orchestrate events, opportunities, and connections in ways that outstrip human logic. Your role is to stay faithful, remain expectant, and keep sowing the seeds of generosity and gratitude. And when the money pours in, as I believe it will, embrace it as a sacred trust. Use it to transform not just your own life, but the lives of those God places on your path. If you haven't done so yet, I encourage you to like this video, subscribe for more uplifting messages, and type 777 in the comments right now. Let that simple yet profound act be the exclamation point on your faith, the final nudge that pushes you into a realm where scarcity is replaced by sufficiency and struggling is replaced by thriving. Let it stand as a memorial stone you can point to later, saying, "That day I chose to believe in the unstoppable flow of divine abundance." As I wrap up this extended message, my prayer for you is this: may every chain of lack be broken, and may you rise into the fullness of God's provision. May your hands never be empty when someone cries out for help, and may your dreams find fertile ground to flourish. May you stand as a beacon of hope, testifying that even in uncertain times, faith can open doors that no one can shut. Let this be your season of transformation, a season marked by unexpected favor, supernatural increase, and an overflow that impacts generations to come. You are chosen. You are set apart to receive and to release blessings. Step boldly into your destiny, holding on to the promise that money is about to pour in, not just so you can prosper, but so you can become a living vessel of hope, grace, and unstoppable love in a world that needs it more than ever. Now go forth, chosen one, and embrace what God has in store for you. The stage is set, the script is written, and the spotlight is on you. May abundance pour down like rain in your life, and may you dance joyfully in its overflow, ever mindful of the grace that made it all possible. You might have prayed for clarity, and now you find your heart resonating with these words. You might have asked for confirmation, and now something about this message makes you feel deeply seen and understood. God often works through the simple things: an online video, a conversation with a stranger, a passage in a book, to whisper, "Yes, child, this promise is also for you." So claim it. Don't let hesitation or fear steal the moment of your divine appointment. If you do only one thing after absorbing this message, let it be this: continue to cultivate hope. Hope is the fuel that keeps your spirit alive while you await your full manifestation of blessing. The negative voices, both external and internal, will try to drown that hope, telling you it's unrealistic. In response, turn up the volume on your faith. Revisit the stories of ordinary people who broke free from the chain of financial lack. Reflect on the biblical passages that affirm God's overflowing generosity and recount any personal moments where provision arrived at just the right time. These recollections become armor that shields you from despair.